We're going to get into alien criminal forfeiture coming up right now. I want to introduce you once again, 3D Politics, every Monday night, 7 p.m. We started a little late tonight, so we'll go a little long tonight.
Yeah.
David Van, David Oldham, right here. Let's talk about alien criminal forfeiture. What does it mean?
Set it up.
Yeah, well, there was a very interesting bill introduced by Sean Roberts, who, and this bill was designed to have the state participate in the federal constitutional position of immigration. So when the federal government lawfully makes a law about immigration, because that is their prerogative,
area.
Article 1, Section 9, for anybody who wants to question it, it's Clause 1. It is the federal government's constitutional duty to deal with immigration.
Okay. Sure.
Well, so, but they have not been dealing with it fully, and they need the help of the states, because there is not a large enough federal force to deal with all of the immigration.
And we don't want there to be.
No, we do not want a federal force dealing with it. We don't want the Army running in our streets, or the National Guard, or anything like that. No, we do not want a national police force. Okay, so, but what has been missing has been a state law that would cause the various agencies, or grant them permission to deal with immigrants that need to be sent back to Mexico or other countries. And so what his bill does is says that if a person, an illegal alien, is caught as an illegal alien, and this is key, and has been convicted of other crimes.
It says felony.
They're felony crimes.
Yes,
actually,
they are,
or they were other crimes, and I think he was going to make it a felony.
You're right.
It hadn't been. That was version 2.0.
We were eating dinner with this guy, and nobody really, because he had just filed it a few hours earlier.
Correct.
And so he's telling us to us after,
right,
during a meal. And we're talking about things that, maybe we'll do it. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
We're talking about changes that could be made.
Yeah.
But anyway, so basically it's going to be a felony conviction, and then afterward, rather than going back to their country, they have illegally stayed in the United States.
Yeah.
Then they are caught by law enforcement for whatever reason. At that point, they are now, if the bill goes all the way through the Senate, and is signed by the governor, they will then be handed over to ICE for deportation. And that is the nature of the bill. So
there's another component there. What happens to his car?
Oh yeah, there was also that was the other thing, and that was that they would it was the asset forfeiture.
Yes,
they would forfeit the assets that are remaining here in the United States.
Yeah, so Tom, what we'd say is we're putting you on a plane to go back to whatever country. Don't worry about your car. We took it.
We got it.
Yeah,
right.
And the wife, the kids, we got that.
So the idea is that if they have their stuff still here, they go and they turn right around and come right back, because they walk right back into what they left. The idea is to take it away, and then they can't just walk back in. They have to start fresh and somehow to get back here.
So this is a bill being written by who?
Sean Roberts.
Sean Roberts, and we agree or disagree with this bill?
Well, that
was an interesting conversation.
That's a very interesting conversation. Now, it's a political decision that is rightly political.
Yeah.
And everybody is entitled to their own opinion. I will tell you, it is completely constitutional, which is what my concern is, and I'm not so keen on sharing my personal political views on it.
You don't give your opinion?
Well, what? The reason is because I'm trying to push constitutional bills.
That's
my focus.
Yeah.
But just on the political side, there are political considerations with the foreign countries where we're sending these people. How do they feel about us treating their people the way we do and so forth. There are things that individuals have. They don't want certain people treated this way, even though they're illegals. This, that, and the other thing. And I encourage you to weigh in on the subject, because this is a properly political bill, and it's going to come down to majority vote, and you need to let your legislator know.
But you're saying that the wording that you read was constitutional by
Correct.
your.
Yeah, now the political thing, and he's right in saying that a lot of this is a political decision, because you have certain things you may have the right to do, but you have to decide what's politically.
Whether is it expedient? Is it pragmatic?
Yeah.
Is it proper? Is it diplomatic?
Yeah. Now, when we watch the replay later on tonight, D'Ambroso's going to go nuts because he accused me of all kinds of things. What I'm bringing up, and I'm going to play devil's advocate like I did sitting at the dinner table there at the Mexican restaurant.
Right.
You know, and yeah, I know some of them didn't speak English too well, but anyway. But I said, I said, Representative Roberts, or, Sean, I said, I have a problem with the asset forfeiture just as a principle, because it's been so abused in an area it shouldn't be.
Correct.
That's the politics. Now you're tainting this initiative with something that already has a bad taste in people's mouth.
Correct.
And should. Okay, so there's that. And then there's the fact that, Sean's bill basically allows them to keep, the law enforcement gets to keep at least part of that proceeds from liquidating that. Right now, the federal government's asset forfeiture laws, the federal, which Ed Meese wrote, and I talked with Ed a few years ago. He was in town. See, I know a few people.
I'm telling you.
And he just condemned it. Ed Meese said this has been bastardized. It was written under the context of a drug kingpin thousands of miles away. We didn't have any access to him, but his money's sitting in Chase
freezing an
Manhattan
account.
Bank. Right. And we've done that all the time. We did it with Iranian stuff, right? But Ed Meese wrote it only in the context of for drug crimes.
Right.
Now we're going to take asset forfeiture, expand it to other kinds of crimes. And that you'll want to look at from a constitutional perspective.
Well, again, remember, constitutionally, an illegal has no constitutional rights. He's not an American. While he is a human, and generally we want to afford them rights. Remember, he is already a convicted felon.
Right.
Whether or not he is on parole is another matter.
Right.
But he is further in the country illegally, so he's committing other crimes.
Yeah.
He's in the process of committing other crimes. So,
Yeah.
So we are not talking about somebody who has benefit of being an American citizen.
Yeah.
He actually...
They don't have the protection under the law because they're not a citizen.
Well, what I want
They
to
have
say,
human
and
rights,
this
but not
has
civil rights
to
in
do
that
with the
manner.
politics side of it, is keep in
Constitution.
mind, you reap what you sow. How do you want Americans, when they're traveling down to Costa Rica and have to go through, say, Mexico, Honduras?
And remember, we're talking not about a traveler, somebody, just an innocent vacationer.
Yeah.
We're talking about a convicted felon who's been in the country long enough to be a convicted felon,
Trespass,
and then continues his trespass in the country.
Yeah, and that's our best understanding of it.
That was the wording the other night. How it may change as it goes through the legislature.
Right. And then the other thing I said, Sean, I wish if you're going to seize assets and then you have them go be liquidated, why don't you have it go to the Build the Wall Fund? And he said, "Oh, I like that."
Write that down.
He says, "Yeah, it would have been good."
Well, and this is the thing. This is the other thing: is legislation often changes as it has its inception and it moves through the process, and so you may well see the Senate come in and want to change some things to it. But the point is that there are things that could change that would make it so that. It's better constitutionally. It's better just as a practical matter.
What would you say is the difference between freezing assets and asset forfeiture?
Well, freezing assets. Well, I mean, virtually nothing in that.
Okay.
If you
he's got a chance.
well, it depends because a freeze of an asset says that the asset still remains the property of whomever, but
Yes.
but it's frozen. We're not going to release it.
Pending action, legal
Once it's
action.
seized, it's gone. It's
Okay.
given away to somebody
Once
else.
it's forfeited, it's
Yeah.
no longer their property,
So-
and that's the difference.
Right. Now, we have complained about what's called civil asset forfeiture.
Right.
And that criminal asset forfeiture, which, I mean, you've got a penny stock pump and dump scheme selling, stocks that are worthless, based on a rumor you started this morning by an email, and that,
You're good at this.
listen, I've got a client that, he lost a $3 million house because he's actually in El Reno in federal prison, and the best they understand is that's how that house was paid for, was by those pump and dump schemes. And listen, the folks down the street from him, it was a gated community, said, we don't feel sorry for that man one bit because we lost a ton of money.
Well, see, those are real
on
crimes.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like drug crimes, which aren't crimes.
Right, but
prohibited.
so there's that kind of asset forfeiture. We need to explain. There are types of asset forfeiture that you've got to support, especially if it's used in restitution to the actual
Well,
victim.
it's about
That makes sense,
restitution, and remember, it has to be
Yeah.
after due process of law.
Exactly.
Now, mind you, when you have an illegal who's being shipped back, he has no due process of law any longer with that.
Right.
Or he's already gone through it, but he's flaunted it and he's remained anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so the sending back is just the last thing.
Yeah.
And the forfeiture is just another part of the punishment, part of
Yeah.
the you know, the-
Restitution for your crime,
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah. So,
Well, I mean,
Yeah. So Tom, all we need to know is are you a citizen? Because if you're not a citizen, you're here as our guest at best.
you get your
Correct.
human rights, but you don't get your constitutional rights because you're not a citizen.
Yeah, the citizen's rights, the right to remain, your franchise. I am part of America. You don't have that if you're here
You're not an American.
unlawfully.
correct. If
And
you're-
even those who are here lawfully as a guest, right, on a visa, they're still a guest, okay?
Correct.
Yeah. So here's what I got. I said, Sean, I want the exclusive vending of the popcorn rights in the gallery of the legislature when this goes to floor vote. Because if I know the Democrats, they are going to fill that place. Maybe I want the tortilla rights to concessions, because I'm telling you, I expect that place to be packed that day.
And clearly,
It-
this is a topic that's going to go
'cause
deeper and
here's
deeper.
here's a problem. And Olin, you got to get ready with an answer for this. Is when, let's say, Dad's illegal, okay?
Right.
But let's say Maria, the sweet young thing he married and had 5 kids with, she is legal, and those kids are legal.
right.
And now Dad's not only going, but the cars he claims is his property. He's gone. Now the kids don't have the breadwinner, the provider, but now they don't even have the car. Think about it.
Well, and that, quite frankly, that comes down to the family needs to do what is right, and
Well-
and people need to get right with the law, and it's not like you can't. But you need to get right with the law, or you need to take responsibility for your family
Right.
and move to where you are right with the law. You need
Yeah.
to get them right
But-
with the law.
Yeah, but this is sticky, and Sean's got to work these things out, because if the car's in the husband and wife's name, and one of them's legal and the other isn't,
Oh, hey.
then you've got that issue.
We're going to
But-
have to close this
Yeah.
particular segment
Yep.
down, but just and move on. But
Yep.
because this clearly, there's so much weeds
Yeah.
to this. We could make a whole episode.
Oh yeah. Oh,
out.
this
So,
is
Yeah,
we can do an hour on this.
Understand there's a coarse, medium, and fine and polished to almost every process.
Yeah.
Whether you're making
Correct.
jewelry
Yep.
or shoes,
Yep.
and you're making legislation, we can't. The general welfare is what we start with.
Yep.
So we can't make these case by case decisions of this particular family and a guy who has a car till you get to the case by case.
Right.
There's no way we're going to make a one size fits all. And then not have to work it out case by case.
and just for exactly, but you do have to think about the individual case and make sure you're not violating people's rights.
But
Here we're not talking about violating somebody's rights. We're talking about people committing a crime, and if they get punished for that crime, then we are talking about the suffering, but it's only because of the crime. If there was no crime, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Okay, one more comment from Van, alien criminal forfeiture, and we're going to move on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What I do like about the legislature doing this, because you're writing policy based on the broad perspective. When a court does these things and they play legislation from the bench, hard cases make bad precedent, make bad policy. And so the legislature's got to take the lead on this. I commend Representative Sean Roberts for at least bringing this issue up. Let's see where this goes.
Very good.
Okay.
Once again, you're tuned in to 3D Politics every Monday at 7 p.m. right here on Facebook Live. Tom McKay, your amazing host, David Van, David Oldham.